We'll start this session in a comfortable seat. That can look like sitting up on top of your bolster or sitting up on top of a blanket. And then we also have some other props that I would recommend, such as 2 blocks and maybe at least 1 blanket. To create your comfortable seat, you can sit up on top of something so that the hips, the pelvis is a little higher than the knees. And if you are crossing at the legs, you can use blocks to support underneath. Maybe you're using rolled up blankets or your bolster as well to support the comfort of your seat. If having the legs crossed isn't very comfortable, you can also place one leg out or both legs out. You can also start this laying down on your back. You might shift around a little bit here until you find your center. And to help find the center, you can lift up through the top of your head, a tall posture, the hands resting on the legs. And then you'll draw your shoulders up towards the ears, bring them down onto the back, and do this a couple more times. You might even take a cleansing breath, breathing in, lifting the shoulders, and exhale, release. We'll take one more breath in, let it all go. And maybe you look down towards the floor, or you start to close the eyes as you settle into your practice and settle into your body. As you're here, you might begin to observe how you feel physically, the shape of your body, welcoming all parts of you. And begin to slow the breath down. Breathing in and out of the nose, a slow and steady breath. And now begin to notice where you make contact with the floor. And noticing your spine tall, your head at the top. And the tide of your breath. And perhaps even your inhale begins to count. The count is the same as your exhale. So maybe you're breathing in for the count of 4, perhaps 5, and exhale the same count. This balanced breath is called samvriti, an equal tide of inhale, an equal tide of exhale. And then slowly, if your eyes are closed, you can start to open the eyes. If you have the legs crossed, we'll switch the cross of the legs as we invite a little bit of movement into the body. Your palms can come together at your heart, and then breathing in, sweeping the arms down, reaching up overhead, palms together. As you exhale, bring it down to your heart center. And doing this a couple more times with your own breath. Arms coming up, and exhale down to the heart. And last one, breathing in, reaching up high. Exhale, bring your palms down to the heart. And then we'll take some time to build a little bit of heat by rubbing the palms together, noticing the sensation between the palms, and then bringing the palms together into Anjali Mudra, maybe the thumbs pressing against your sternum. Notice the sensation. And then we release, and you can bring your hands back down onto your legs. And we'll move forward and back in a cat-cow position with the hands resting on your legs. Your breath in, you move forward, maybe even lifting your chin up. And then your exhale, round through the back of your heart. You can bring your chin tucked in. Continue to move this way, forward and back with your own breath, your own rhythm. And now from here, we're going to start to take circles. So coming over to the side, then inward over to the other side, creating this circular motion with the spine. Maybe even notice how as you draw back, you're pushing through the back of the heart. It's up to you how big you'd like these circles to be. And then slowly, we'll go the other direction. So here we've got a little bit of flexion and extension in the spine, and even a little bit of lateral movement. Keeping your feet rooted down, your connection to the earth. And then when you're ready, we'll come back to the center. Reach the right arm out to the side, the palm. The fingertips can be resting on the floor or on a block. The left hand is reaching up overhead with your breath in, and exhale, reaching over towards the side, elongating the left side of your body. Keep your seat rooted. Maybe you begin to pull the elbow and the shoulder back, and you open and revolve the heart up and out. And then inhale, rising up. Palms can gently press together as you do the same to the other side. So we're bringing the left hand over to the side. The palm could be down or to fingertips. Reaching that right arm up. Shoulder and elbow can come back, open and revolving the heart. There's a little bit of twist and lateral movement here. And then inhale, palms together. Release down to the heart center. Take the right hand to the left knee, extending tall. The left hand can come to the side or behind, finding your seated twist. You're welcome to look over the left shoulder if it feels okay in your body, and maybe even look to the left side of the eye sockets without straining. So everything I share with you is invitational. There's no right or wrong way. Move as it feels right in your body. As you inhale, take both of the arms up. Palms can briefly touch. And switching over to the other side, the left hand comes to the right knee, lifting with your inhale and your exhale, you twist. Perhaps look over the back shoulder. The eyes may go to the right side of their eye sockets. And thinking about how your breath moves in this shape. So how it begins in the lower part of the body, in the belly, your low spine, and rising up to the mid spine between your shoulder blades. With your next inhale, take both arms up. Palms can briefly touch as you bring them down to the heart center. Now open the arms out wide, breathing in. Exhale, crossing the right arm over the left. A gentle hug here. You might even tuck inward towards the heart. And breath fills between your shoulder blades. Release any tension that you might have built up from your day here. With your inhale, open the arms wide. Maybe even like a cactus with the heart up and out. And exhale, switch the cross of the arms, left goes over right. You might tuck inward in this gentle fold. Breath fills the back body. Inhale, open wide again. Breathing in and release. You can lower the hands down. We'll start to extend the legs out in front. You can stay sitting up on top of your bolster or on top of your blanket. With the legs extended out, if you feel like your hamstrings are a little tight, you can roll a blanket up and place it under the knees. I have this small skinny bolster I like to use. Sometimes I place under the knees as well. You can take the hands to the side of you. This posture is called Dandasana. It's also known as staff pose. And it's a really great way to lengthen the spine and also help lengthen the legs and the hamstrings. Begin to point and flex your feet. Continue to lift up through the top of your head. So your seat is rooted, firm foundation, but a lifting and lengthening through the head. Pointing and flexing the feet. And now as you flex through both of the feet, begin to open and close the feet. You might notice how this movement comes all the way up to your hips. And then making circles with the feet. You can point and roll the ankle. And then the other direction. So we're getting into the joints, releasing any tension that's stored up there, especially this time of year. And then back to the center. Begin to pull the right leg in. You can keep the leg here with the foot flat, or you can start to take this half butterfly shape and open the right knee to the side. It can be supported on your bolster or your block, and lengthening up as you breathe in. And exhale, we start to fold forward. Your folding forward can be supported with a bolster. It could be long ways and your head could rest on the edge. We'll be here for about 30 seconds or so. You can also hold and hug the bolster. Maybe support your head and hands. As we're holding here, notice your breath in the back of your body without straining or forcing the shape at all. Ease into it with each exhale. Slowly, we'll begin to come upright. As we come upright, you can bring that knee back up to the center and plant the foot down. You can also draw it up a little closer to you if you'd like. We're going to come into a seated twist. The right hand, it may come behind, and then take your left hand, it reaches over to the right knee. As you lift up through the top of your head, breathe in, and you exhale, finding a twist to the right side. Maybe look over the back shoulder, explore how the sensations feel along the spine, your neck, your breath rising. And can you stay for a few more breaths here? Your breath expanding and contracting. Slowly, we'll come back to the center. Extend the leg back down the mat And note the difference between the two sides. You can rub down the legs, maybe you pack them down. The feet, the back of the body, perhaps the arms, your shoulders, the back of the shoulders. And then take a big cleansing breath into your nose. Let it go. Okay, we'll switch over to the other side. Start to pull the left leg in and open the knee to the side. Find your half butterfly shape. The knee, the back of the knee can be supported on your bolster or your block. Extending tall through the top of your head. You're welcome to stay here. Or if you want to explore the forward fold, you come forward and round in your mid-spine. You can also hug your bolster as well. This can be a great way to invite a forward fold into your practice without forcing the shape. We'll be here for about 30 seconds or so. Easing into it, each exhale, release a little bit more into the shape. Each breath in creates space. Each breath out, release and soften into the shape. A few more breaths here. And then we'll start to rise back up. Bring the knee back up with you. You can have it closer to the body or a little further away. Plant the foot down. Lift up tall through the head, the top of the head, and then twisting over to the left. You could bring the left hand behind. As you lift tall, you can look over the back shoulder. Your breath, the most important part of your practice. Explore how the breath moves from the low body up the spine to your chest. Maybe notice the lift of your collarbones. The expansion and contraction. A few more breaths here. Slowly, when you're ready to release, you come back to the center. You can extend the leg down next to the right, pointing and flexing both of the feet now. And then we'll start to bring the feet together in this loose butterfly shape. This is where it is nice to have the support of blocks and a bolster underneath you. It's up to you how close you want the feet to come. If they come a little closer, you might feel more intensity in the hips, but they could also be further away for a bit more of a restorative variation. The bolster you can hold here to support and maybe rest your head on the edge. But if you want a little more intensity, a little more heat, you can come forward, maybe even rest your forehead in your hands with your elbows down on your blocks, your bolster. You can get creative with the use of your props here. Once you find your shape, ease into it. And notice your breath. The breath moving in your back, across the ribs, the back of your heart. We'll be here for about another minute or so. You are rooted, you are supported and grounded. You're held by the earth. Your body slowly easing and releasing into the shape. A few more breaths here. On an inhale, when you're ready to come out, rise back up. You have your bolster, place it to the side. Help lift the legs so that the feet are about as wide as your mat. You can slide your blanket or your prop out from underneath you. Lean back onto the hands and start to windshield wiper the knees side to side. So there's no one way this is supposed to look. Moving side to side in a way that's comfortable and supportive for you. Internally rotating the hips. And slowly we'll swing the feet around and we're going to come onto the hands and the knees. Finding a tabletop variation. A blanket can be placed under your knees for some extra support if you're on a hard surface. And I recommend having blocks up at the front of your mat. As you come into your tabletop shape, pushing up through the backs of your shoulders and draw the rib cage in. Spread your fingers wide. You can press the finger pads down into your mat. You can always use blocks underneath your hands as well to lift the earth up to you if you feel like you're straining or you want to try a different variation. If you do have any wrist sensitivity, it might feel better to use fists and pushing down through the knuckles. With your breath in, start to lift up your tailbone and lift your chin. Begin to round, tuck your tailbone, tuck your chin, and moving in a way that's fluid and organic for you, in and out of a cat and cow shape. Notice how this feels for the spine as you push up through the back of the heart. And then your inhale, the breath rises up from the low body up to your chest and throat. Exhale, rounding, drawing up through the back of the heart. If you'd like to bring a little bit of variation in, you can also start to take child's pose as you reach back with your hips towards your heels on an exhale. And then inhale guides you up, lifts the tailbone, lifts the chin into your cow. Exhale, rounding through the back, sitting towards your heels into child's pose. So this little variation here is called Chakra Vakasana. A flow of extension and flexion in the spine. Allow your breath to guide the movement. Breathing in, rising up. The breath rises all the way up to the chest and throat. Exhale is a little pelvic abdominal contraction sitting back towards the heels. And then the next time you rise up through your inhale, come into your tabletop as you exhale. And we'll step the right foot back. You can have the toes tucked and rock forward and back, opening up your hamstring, the toes, the joints, the ankle. We're going to build a little bit of heat here. We'll work with a little bit of our inner fire, the core muscles in the body. So you're welcome to stay just like this with the toes tucked, or you can start to explore to lift up the foot. If you lift the foot up, push through the sole of the foot, it's flexed, lengthen through the crown of your head. Breathe here, in and out, slow and steady. You're welcome to stay, but if you want even more heat, start to draw the knee up towards the chest. You might even come into that rounding shape into a cat by tucking the chin in. And then inhale, push through the foot, push through the crown of the head. And we'll do this a couple more times. Your exhale draws the knee in. You might feel a little bit of shaking. That's okay. Allow the breath to hold and guide you. Your exhale draws the knee in. Inhale, extend and push through the foot and the crown of the head. And then lower the knee down, finding your tabletop shape. We'll pause briefly before we move to the other side. So if you'd like, you can come into child's pose. You can also take a downward facing dog by bending the knees, pushing into the feet. If you're sitting back in child's pose, it might be nice to bring the hands along the sides of your body. Wherever you are, allow the breath to guide and hold you in the shape. And slowly we'll come into our table and we'll move over to the other side. Left foot steps back as you rock forward and back. Building your internal awareness. This is called interoception. So noticing these sensations that occur inside the body, how it feels to move the ankle, how it feels in the back of your hamstring. When you're ready, if you want more heat and working with the core, lift the foot up, push through the sole of the foot. At the same time, you're also lengthening through the crown of the head. Breathing here in and out. We hold the shape. Your inhale is expanding. Your exhale, you contract the low pelvic abdominal muscles so it feels like the navel is pulling in towards your spine. On your next exhale, you'll draw the knee up in towards the center like a cat. Tuck your chin in and then inhale, push through the foot. We'll do this 2 more times. Your inhale to lengthen, your exhale, a pelvic abdominal contraction. Draw the knee in. We build a little bit of heat. Last one, breath in. Exhale, pulling it in, a pelvic abdominal contraction. And then push back through the sole of the foot and lower back down. You can transition now into your child's pose shape, your table, or downward facing dog. To recalibrate, observe the sensations. Building heat and building an inner fire helps create sustainable balance in the body. You may notice your heart beating a little bit faster. So whether you're in downward dog or table, we'll all meet in a child's pose. So sit back with your hips, maybe arms come by your sides. Your forehead could rest on the blanket, block. And we'll hold here. Breath filling in your back body. You're welcome to stay here, or we'll start to transition into a puppy dog pose. So the forearms here come down onto the mat, lift the hips up, and the heart sinks towards the floor. The head may rest on your block, or the head could rest on the floor. With each exhale, soften, release a little bit more into the shape. A few more breaths here. And slowly from here, return back into your child's pose. You might like to take the arms resting by the sides, rounding the back of the body. Notice and observe the sensations, your internal awareness. You're welcome to stay in that child's pose shape or start to bend at the knees, push into your feet, lift your hips, finding a downward facing dog. You can walk out your dog, bending one knee at a time. Slowly lower down onto the knees. And we'll start to make our way onto the stomach. As we come down onto the stomach, we find a Sphinx pose. Forearms pressing down into the mat. You can lift up through the top of your head. Maybe you choose to bend your knees and lift the feet up off of the mat. A slow and steady breath. We're here for a few more breaths. When you're ready, start to release and find a crocodile shape. You can rest the upper body. Perhaps your forearms are stacked, your head turned to one side. Or take the arms by the sides with the head turned. Slow the breath down. Perhaps your exhale lengthens a little bit longer. We'll transition. We'll come onto the back of the body now. As we come onto the back of the body, you might have a blanket for your head. And I invite you to keep the blanket so that it's thin, it's not really thick. And have your block or your bolster nearby. This will be optional. As we come onto the back, you can explore a little bit of movement here by bringing the knees up towards you. Maybe you rock side to side. Placing the hands on the knees, pushing them away from the body. Over towards one side, back towards you, over to the other side. Slowly tracing circles with the knees. And then we'll transition over to the other side. Back to the center. Lowering the feet down towards the floor. Taking a moment here to recalibrate, reconnect. Notice your breath. You might even place a hand over the belly and the other over the chest. Your exhale becomes a little bit longer. If you're comfortable here, you're welcome to stay. If you want to explore a supported bridge shape, reach for your prop, press into your feet, lift the pelvis and slide your block or your bolster underneath your sacrum. We'll start to ease into a little bit more of a restorative session, a little more supportive as your exhale lengthens. You're welcome to stay in the shape or draw the knees upwards. You can support the thighs with your hands in this reclined squat shape, or maybe you take the legs up towards the ceiling. If you have the legs up towards the ceiling, it can also be nice to have a strap placed on the soles of the feet with the strap in either hand. That can be a little bit more restorative, so you're not putting in as much effort. This can be a wonderful way to recirculate the blood flow. It can also be a great posture in the evening or to calm the nervous system. A few more breaths left. We start to bend into the knees when you're ready to transition. Bringing the feet back down to the mat. Notice the energetic shift. Pressing into your feet, lift your pelvis and take your prop out from beneath you and slowly lower back down. You can walk the feet wide as your mat, and windshield wiper the knees side to side. And when the knees come back upright, you can bring the feet back underneath the knees, and then pressing into the feet, slide your hips over to the left side as the knees begin to fall over to the right side, finding a reclined twist. This is a supportive, restorative variation, so not straining. If you have a prop, you can place it underneath your knees. Maybe you have a blanket and you want to drape it over the body for a little extra comfort. We'll be here for about a minute or so. The arms, maybe you explore them wide. Allow your breath to soften each exhale a little longer than your inhale. Few more breaths left. Slowly, when you're ready to transition, bring your knees back up. We move over to the other side. Hips will come over to the right side as the knees fall over to the left. The knees can rest on top of something as you release the weight of the body, allowing the earth to hold and support you. Each exhale, release the muscles, surrendering into the shape. You might begin to release muscles in the face. Allow your teeth to unclench, your jaw soften. Taking a few more breaths here. And slowly, when you're ready to transition, bring your knees back up, your hips return to the center. You can take any other remaining movements before we take the last shake. It might feel nice to pull the knees in again or rock side to side. Eventually, we make our way into the last shape called Shavasana, the pose for rest. Traditionally, it's taken on the back. You can extend your legs down your mat. Maybe you have a bolster propped underneath the backs of your knees, a blanket under your head, or even draped over the body. Shavasana can be taken in many different variations. So if you'd rather come to sit upright, you might choose to come back into a comfortable seat. Maybe you'd like to take Shavasana on your side. We'll be here for about 5 minutes or so, and I'll guide us through the practice, making sure that you feel really comfortable making any necessary adjustments. Once you make your way into your shape, I invite you to take a big cleansing breath into your nose. Let it go. And one more breath in. Release any holding. And now allow your whole body to be fully supported by the earth. Your whole body held in the comfort and warmth of your shape. As you release the muscles, your jaw begins to relax, your tongue, your eyes, maybe they're open with a soft gaze or they're closed. Your shoulders relaxed, your arms and hands relaxed, whole spine relaxed. Both legs relaxed, feet relaxed. Sense into your whole body, observing your whole body relaxed. Each passing exhale, a little bit more fully relaxed. Begin to come back into the room that you're in by noticing sounds and the space just outside the body. You might visualize the room that you're in and where you are in the room, the shape of your body, the placement of any props, where you make contact with the floor. And slowly coming back into your body, you can begin to deepen the breath, inviting small, gentle movement, perhaps rocking the head side to side, moving the hands and feet. Slowly waking back up into your day, into your evening. When we begin to transition, you can come onto the side or start to sit upright. And we'll close our session together, bringing the palms together at the heart center. You can draw the head inward. A moment to honor and recognize your practice. Honor and recognize the waves, the fluctuations of life and change and transition, and that we are anchored in the here and now. Thank you for letting me guide you in this beautiful practice in honor of all that we are and all that there is. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Wishing you peace. Peace, perfect peace. Thank you for joining me in this session.